Lame. Lame. Lame.
Hey. Oh, dude. Let me
Lame.
do start video. Oh, yeah. See? Let's see. Let's do it like that. Man, I was in work zone, like just researching, and I didn't set an alarm. Anyways, I'm sorry about that, man.
It's all good. I'm gonna bring him in. All right. So just real quick, his name is Todd.
Todd.
You emailed him. I don't know what you guys talked about, so it'll be fun.
I sent him over that thing that I created a while ago for.
It bothers you. Put it on virtual screen.
That's right.
Give you 30 seconds. I'm gonna sing you the song. Blame it on the lane.
Where? How do I forgot even how to do that.
Stop video. I think it is. Let's see. Yeah, stop video.
Mm-hmm.
No, don't stop it though. Don't stop it.
Did I?
Yeah. So put it back on.
Okay.
All right. To the right of the stop video is like a little arrow up.
You know what, man? It's fine, isn't it? Maybe not.
I know it's going to bother you. You're going to think about it. So do you see the little tiny little arrow up?
No.
On the stop video? To the right of the stop video in that little box is like a little up arrow. It's a little icon. Because if you click it, it'll say choose virtual background. You may have it under security, but I don't think so. It's going to be under stop video.
You know, man, it's fine.
All right. Here we go. He's a very handsome guy too, so let me see if I can put the verbiage in. What's up, Todd?
Hello, hello.
Hey, man. What's happening?
How you doing, buddy?
Good to meet you, Todd.
Nice to meet you. Who's that, David? Or... Hey, Dave.
Hey, how are you, sir?
Can you hear me, sir?
Indeed.
Nice.
Cool. Well, hey, man, appreciate you coming on. Dave and I started this more just kind of chatting, and it kind of evolved into this, place where, guys can get on, have some conversations. And originally it was, kind of going to go a little bit more business owner, but it kind of changed into something a little bit more, and kind of let Dave more explain it, because I want to get into it more than anything. But Dave, if you want to kind of give them just a little light.
Yeah, basically, so this whole thing started off because, I was previously an insurance agent. I had an insurance agency, and I sold that about 18 months ago, and was kind of having a hard time replacing my identity, so sold the business, made a great profit. It was great. But then I took about a year off, and during that year off, your brain kind of messes with you if you don't have a forward direction. And Matt was gracious enough to kind of help me through that a little bit. So we started talking about what it's like being a man and the roles of that, and the societal norms and abnormal behavior of what's expected. So yeah, we just wanted to kind of create a spot where guys could just talk to each other and put it out to the universe, and maybe somebody will hear it, and maybe it'll help them get some direction. So we just kind of. Oops, sorry. Go ahead.
Oh, very good. No, I was going to say, when I talk, does it mute out on your end, or is it okay at the audio level?
Sound great.
Yeah, it's good on our side.
Okay, good. I just want to make sure. But yeah, that makes sense. I heard what you said there, Dave, and it sounds good. And I also read what you sent me an email, so that provided a good little backgrounder of sorts.
Great.
Cool. And Todd, I love, just to kind of introduce you to Dave, and maybe you can give him a little synopsis or a little story about yourself. I'm just here for the belt hugs, the belt buckle hugs, and the eye candy. That's really all I'm here for. But yeah, if you can just give a little background of you, and we'll get this thing rolling.
Yeah, well, let me see if I can kind of summarize. I'll start off from childhood. I'm a number 8 out of 10 kids. So grew up in a large family, 2 girls first, and then 8 boys in a row.
Whoa.
So that was quite fun, interesting. You always had a best friend, no matter who it was. It ended up being one of your brothers. But if you get mad at that individual, you move on to the next brother, another good friend right there. So growing up, we always had a best friend, if you will, which was actually kind of nice. And I think with the upbringing, we grew up in Orange County, California, for one, all 10 of us. And same parents, mother and father, all kids from the same parents. But growing up, it seems like a lot of neighborhood kids and whatnot would think that we came from Midwest or something of that nature. And I think because of that, my reflection on that was the upbringing with a big family. You get those kind of values that are a little bit different. Something about that, I think, there that you have always a best friend is one of your brothers, in a large family. So that kind of environment was pretty nice. All the holidays were awesome. My mom, she would have like the entire house decorated for every holiday, whether it was something as simple as St. Patrick's Day, 4-leaf clovers hanging from the ceiling, or the Easter eggs everywhere, and of course Christmas. But yeah, every single holiday she was that kind of mom. So she never learned how to drive. My parents got married out of high school. Interestingly enough, she never learned how to drive. She didn't have to once the kids started learning how to drive. She always had a taxi, right? So 10 kids, you got your taxi right there, early Uber. So that was pretty cool. But she was a great cook, a great mom. Really did justice for us kids, keeping us grounded. And transition fast track now from growing up to high school to jumping into the workforce straight away. I've been in the tech industry for quite some time now, and that's my trade by nature as a technologist, if you will, both hardware and software. So I have a pretty diverse technical background for different companies that I've worked for, and it's what brought me here today, and here I am.
Yeah, my father is actually one of 12. So
nice.
Yeah. They're most were born in New York. Obviously, you can imagine time changes a little bit. You change locations during the course of, I think it was 16 years, 17 years. I mean, it was pretty darn quick. But similar, it sounded like they always had someone to go to. 4 boys, 8 girls. So yeah, that's very cool. Did what he was talking about at some point, he's the 3rd oldest. Did you experience kind of the getting raised by your older siblings somewhat?
Yeah, so being number 8, I'm number 8 out of 10, so lower down on the food chain.
Right.
Two more after me. Yeah, so it was interesting. The sisters being born first, the oldest, I didn't even experience living while they're around, basically.
Oh, I see.
So, because they grew up and got out of the house. At one point, there was 6 beds in one room, the 6 youngest.
Wow.
So the 6 youngest in one room, and then the 2 oldest boys in the next room, and then the room next to that would be the kind of, if the girls were going to be around, that would be the room, kind of thing. So, but yeah, it was interesting having bunk beds growing up. 6 beds, 3 on each side of the room.
Wow.
And then you're in a nice deep sleep, and then you get bumped by your brother down below with his feet up underneath your mattress. That's bothersome. So that's where you learn things like, okay, if you're going to kick me like that, then I'm going to have a Dixie cup of, and it was Dixie, a Dixie cup of water on the ready. So you bump me, you get wet.
That's hilarious. Yeah, when you have close sleeping quarters, I have 1 brother and 1 sister, but we had bunk beds. My brother and I were when we were growing up, and jungle gym / sleeping quarters / I don't even know. It was a good time though, for sure.
Mm-hmm.
So, how do you?
Yeah, little things I remembered real quick, if you don't mind.
Yeah.
Just that reminded me. Whoops, sorry, I got the cam a little skew there. But that reminded me of like early childhood engineering, if you will. Like the topmost bed was the closest to the heater on one side of the room. So I had helped my brother make this cardboard thing that would direct the heat, not directly at him, but downward.
Mm-hmm.
We used duct tape and cardboard, but I just thought that was kind of a funny memory of early engineering.
Yeah, definitely.
Because if you're at the top bed, you're getting blasted by the heater's right there. Like, yikes. So that became not such a prime.
Sorry, no, I was gonna say, do you guys still do any of those childish things that you guys did growing up when you guys get together? Do you still, do any of that kind of stuff?
Let's see. I think the closest would be certainly what we appreciate now is getting together for one, and then it's always been the gab, the gift of the gab, if you will, just talk. It's almost like it's a competition. But I think most of my family is kind of an excitable type of personality. If they're interested in something, they'll definitely talk your ear off about it. But as far as things, not really, other than maybe shooting pool. But getting together, it definitely is something that is fun.
How often do you get to see them?
It's been less and less, but I can tell you this: when my mom was around, she was like the conduit. In fact, you could not come up with an excuse to not come by or be there for the holiday. It just wouldn't happen. You had to be there. So with her gone, it's kind of been a little remiss, but fortunately, my brother Jim and his wife Heather have done every year Christmas and Thanksgiving, which has been great.
That's fantastic.
We've had a great, and I make my mom's recipe potato salad. We call it Joe Mama's potato salad. her name being her name being Johanna May. Johanna May, growing up, even the neighborhood kids would call her Joe Mama.
That's hilarious.
Johanna May. So we call it Joe Mama's potato salad. I make that every year for Thanksgiving.
It's a nice connection, for sure.
Yeah. So it's little things like that, and then reconnecting a little closer with my sister Terry. She's number 2 out of 10. Been helping her and her husband build a couple of sheds on their property. That's been fun. Kind of doing a project together with relatives. I think that's something that's kind of missed these days, if you will. Taking the time and actually building something as simple as a shed, which come to find out it's not that simple, by the way. but
there's a YouTube video
to go
for
through the motions. Yeah. To go through the motions, I think, is the important part, Yeah. It could be as simple as me leaving and picking up some Starbucks for all 3 of us on my way over there, and then getting the planning done. And it could be as simple as just laying out the pieces together, and then you call it a day or whatever. But to get through something, I think it's very important, and to pardon the pun, to be constructive in that way. It's I think a relationship builder, and it really does good things for the soothing the soul, if you will, and connecting with relatives.
Yeah, it's interesting as you get older, or as I've gotten older. I think just people, men, women in general, and you have siblings. You have a little more than most, but
Right.
The connection, it's difficult. It's difficult to keep that connection as you get older. You get different perspectives on the economy, government, all of that, and especially in the times that we're in right now. My sister, I love my sister dearly, and I'm on the left and she's on the right, but we could still have a good conversation. But she also lives in Oregon, and so there becomes these barriers between having that relationship that you really want to have and the time and, well, I don't want to say energy because that means I'm not putting that in, but it takes that energy to make sure you keep that connection. if you don't put the energy in, connections are lost or at least start to fade.
Right. No, that's definitely a very good point. And I think that's the main part of it is, it's kind of easy to be lazy in that way, if you will, It's just, intellectually speaking, even emotionally, these times are trying, very trying times right now. And there's plenty of things that, that can drain us emotionally. But I think it takes that little extra effort to be cognizant of the fact that relatives and family is important. Of course, we can all be, and I fall prey to this myself, lazy in some ways. But it's important to preserve that family connection. And I found a lot for me recently is the reward of that. I would be the guy that would be, Matt may know this, a wild Todd, off on his own doing his thing and just whatever, and may or may not show up kind of thing. And having having that label or that when you hear from others, like, oh, he's going to be a no-show before I even try to put the effort together. I've fortunately stemmed away from that, and now it's back to like, we enjoy having Todd around. It would be nice if he shows up, and I do, and of course it's nice. It's a enjoyable experience from what I've gathered from them, but also for me. So
yeah,
that's good.
I have a similar, well, not similar. I tend to want to do everything. Like, oh, sure, I'll be there, or oh, I'll make sure to get that for you, or I'll just say these things that come out of my mouth that make the other person feel better. And that's what my goal is. But no, I can't always deliver on that. Maybe I deliver 1 out of 4 times, or if I'm doing well, it's like 80% of the time. But it creates this thing in people's minds where they think that I'm maybe absent-minded or don't care that much. And that's the opposite of the intention. The intention is to make them feel good, but then by not completing that action, I have the opposite effect. And it's staying true to your word is tough.
It's tough. It's challenging. Yeah, it's but rather important, of course.
Absolutely.
But just spreading yourself way too thin is the challenging part of it. It's learning to, at least for me, learn how and when to say no or you can't. Because there's a lot to be said about that too, though. The quality of being able to say that, I think on the receiving end, it's going to be okay to say no or you can't.
Absolutely.
No, and I think some people do struggle with that. So
yeah, it's a lot harder to say no than it is to say yes. So the default for a lot of people, and myself included sometimes, is no, because it's stuff, I'm trying to excuse myself when really it should be okay just to say no. Like, hey, no, next time. Or not even next time. No, I can't. Like, that is,
right.
I don't know, I feel like that takes balls just to be like, no. Oh, well, just,
that's, what? Now that we're talking about this, I like that. And I'm going to try it. Just flat out no, just no.
Yeah.
And that's it. And just leave it right there.
Yep.
If those,
see how that one makes
interested
you feel.
enough to find out why no, but there might be those that will be interesting to see those that say, well, why not?
Well, and to be fair to them, you've given them a reason every other time you've said no, so they just come to expect it. I think, don't get me wrong, there are situations where I feel like it makes sense to give a reason because there is. I would like to attend, but I do have this other thing going on and I can't make it. But a lot of times those tend to maybe a white lie slips in there, or maybe an exaggeration of why I can't go pops in there just to make sure they feel good about me saying no to whatever it is they want from me.
Right.
So,
why wouldn't you go?
well, You tell me, Matt. Because
No, I'm curious.
you strike me as somebody who would be okay with just saying no.
Oh,
So,
I say hell no. I said I can't make it. I say it. It's like if somebody, like a buddy of mine asked me a few months ago, he's like, "Hey, can you help me move?" I said, "Hell no."
Yeah. Well, moving
like,
is different. I would say hell no to moving.
But it's really the same thing. So like today, I called my brother early in the morning. I said, "Hey, I want to connect for lunch." So we did a tailgate pizza at this place in high school we used to go to in Placentia prior to me coming home. And I called my dad and I said, "Hey, we're doing a tailgate pizza. You want to come?" Whether he came or not, I didn't give a shit.
Right.
I was there for my brother. He actually did show up. I bought him a slice and it was a good day. I think maybe we just, it's all about that making memories, that quality time with the people we love. And if we're intentional and be like, "Hey, I love, I don't know. I think everyone feels bad that they're going to hurt their feelings instead of just being like, yeah, next time." Like when we were kids, we would say it. You're like, "Dude, I don't want to do that."
That's a very good point.
You know what I mean? And like our siblings are the last connection to our parents. And so to me, it's important. Like when my mom passed away earlier this year, the siblings started to break up and they were like sending me shit to try to get them aside. And I was like, "I don't give a shit what you guys are saying. Like, I'm here for mom. You want to come? Great. If you're not, it's fine. I love you guys." I think too many times we're trying to keep everyone happy. And like my mom, Todd, just like yours was the connection that kept us all together. Like we used to have a conversation, like if it wasn't for mom, we wouldn't all be together. And one day prior to, years before, I looked at him like, bullshit, like we are the connection. Like we choose if we want to have something. So like I have a sister in Delaware that we probably see once every 5 years, but anytime we jump on the phone or it's like we're right there.
Yeah.
So I think if we become intentional about the little time that we have to make the memories, everyone's busy. I mean, I bet you like sometimes if you talk to your siblings and be like, "Man, I'm glad you didn't show up because it was exhausting. We had 14 other people there and you're going to cause trouble anyway. So it was probably great that you didn't show up." Positive trouble. You know what I mean?
Very positive reinforcement there, Chief.
Yeah.
Well, hey, look, we all know that the three of us, when we leave the room, it gets dark. So I don't know. It's just what I feel.
Yeah, definitely some similarities between your mom and my mom that conduit, like you said. But that's where I think Jim and Heather kicked in and, made it happen. So it's cool.
Yeah. I think it also has to do with, and I think this applies to a lot of different things, but when you haven't talked to a friend in a long period of time, it's like you're less likely to, or family member,
yeah.
what we're talking about right now. And I would say family member even more so, because the longer the time that goes by, the more like, awkward it is that I haven't called in a week, a month, 2 months, whatever it's been. We got off the phone that last time and it was a little awkward and I don't really want to have that conversation in my 5-minute drive to the grocery store or, to pick up the phone. So it just, the anticipation builds up, the awkwardness builds up, and the desire to just have a fun, easy breezy conversation isn't likely to happen. Or at least that's what you tell yourself. Then you get on the phone with somebody you love and who loves you, and that's knocked out in 30 seconds. If not, at 0 seconds. "Oh my God, how have you been?" So I think it's just one of those mental blocks that we decide to place on things that shouldn't even be there in the first place.
Right. Yeah. So speaking of siblings, so from a family of 10, there's only one brother that I have not communicated to in quite some time until recently. So
that's great.
My father, having going down that path of being elderly, I was available to assist and take care. Initially, it was one of my other brothers, number 4, who actually took him. I mean, I'm not sure if we could dive into this story or not, but
We can dive into whatever you want.
okay. So I'll try to keep it poignant. But number 4 takes on my dad to his own house. Now, mind you, he's married with a kid. He's got a college age boy, but it's him, his wife, and his son. And then take on the responsibility of your elderly father. He basically has difficulty going upstairs, going to the bathroom, all that stuff, right? He takes on the responsibility for the better part of 9 months. And then nobody was actually communicating with that particular brother. It was so strange to me at the time. I didn't think twice about it, but again, I'm that guy that's out and about and doing my own thing and, not really connecting, right? So, with family. But nobody's communicating with dad at that time is my point. Nobody's supporting number 4 brother. And, he's basically at wit's end and went down the path of hospice. Come to find out, my sister wanted to visit dad and my brother said no. It was a really bad timing or good, depends how you look at it. But basically he was administering hospice and towards the midpoint of it to where he could have been, deceased or gone. And some of the family members took that as, wait a minute, what are you doing? And all of a sudden has this onus and this like powerful, like, oh my gosh, what are you doing? I can't believe it. How dare you kind of thing approach, right? So he ended up going into the hospital. He made it through that and then extended his years by 2 after that. So about a 2-year span just this past year. And the part of going from my brother's house to getting into a, patient care program, a living facility, I had to go through that entire process with my sister and learning and then getting power of attorney and things like this. And my sister was really, more into making sure that we get power of attorney and all these things. To me, I just wanted to see if dad was going to be okay. Long story short, the 2 oldest brothers, number 1 and number 2, basically turned on my sister, and there's some animosity, some negativity, things like that. So through that, one of my other brothers stopped talking to the brother that had my dad live in his house. There was that separation, this negativity. For me, I did initially only because how he treated my sister. There were some snide remarks and some, some pretty sarcastic things going on. And at one point, I told him, I said, hey, man, you're in the right place. You're in a hospital. We can throw down right now and they take care of you. I mean, it almost came to fisticuffs, I was ready to ground and pound, but we didn't. So my other brother saw that and observed that. I mean, I get so furious and I got so to a point. The only problem I had with him was how they were treating my sister when she was trying to take care of dad. So long story short, there was the one brother that took on dad was doing the right thing. So he thought it became very challenging on his own life, his own marriage.
Yeah.
It became very taxing, so there's no doubt there's hindsight. And I look back on that, it's like nobody else was taking care of dad. This one brother took it upon himself, brought him into his own house, and it really stretched his marriage kind of thin.
I'm sure,
to be honest. And it all worked out, fortunately. But I guess what I'm getting back to is hindsight and looking. It's a shame that there's one brother that will not communicate still to this day to the second oldest brother, the guy who brought him into his house. But I do. I do talk to him. Whenever he calls, I answer the phone. So my hope for 2021 is there's at least some level of gratitude or reflection that can be done with that one brother is like kind of holding out. Because I I do look back on things. I've had my dad here, the in-between phase before he went to that long-term living facility. And my gosh, is it challenging. You know, to bathe your dad or help him go to the bathroom. That's not easy stuff.
No, I'm for both of you. I'm sure. I mean,
Right,
the last thing he wants is to have his son giving him a bath, and you don't want that for him. So that's,
So,
wow.
I mean, you go through it though, of course, you go through the motions, but yeah, my goodness. And my brother did that for 9 months. I mean, come on, there's like some definite, I guess, self-reflection if you think about it. I fortunately, I had to go through it. I got a flavor of it. So I think it was easier for me to, talk to that brother.
To recognize. Yeah, well, you're able to recognize what he went through, to have some empathy and sympathy for his situation and his wife and his child. I mean, your dad was stretched thin, and that is not easy on a family dynamic.
Todd, did that bring you guys closer?
Yeah, it did actually. You know, two things. With the sister, I never did anything with her for the most part. Going through the exercise of power of attorney and taking care of dad brought us closer there. But with Steve, it brought us a little closer too, because again, of that experience and knowing what he had to go through. And nobody else in our family knows firsthand. So he's had a family business, a print shop for years. I mean, over 37 years or 40 years, whatever it is, but a family business. And my brother Jim, who's 2 above me, his entire life has been the print shop. You know, that's all he's done, the family business. So when my dad was on his way out, literally, Jim has been self-sufficient and was able to carry on business on his own, working from the home. This was before COVID. But so he's never, I mean, they were in a business relationship. They kind of had arguments, but that's, I think, natural. That just occurs. Some people say that if you want to really challenge yourself, go in business with a family member.
I've heard the same. I couldn't.
So you've probably heard the same. Yeah. So that definitely, is there. So I guess my point on that thread of discussion is that there really has been this level of closeness that I'm able to get with Steve that I can't get with anyone else because of that experience and reflecting on what Steve had done for 9 months.
Has Steve ever gotten a chance? He's doing. That's awesome. Had Steve ever had a chance to, really talk to your other brothers and sisters about exactly what his experience was? No, and with our family dynamic, I think it would take a moment for someone to go and ask him. But I have. And maybe there you go. You just maybe nailed it right there. Is I have, because what did I do? I had a little flavor of it, right? Yeah.
So it was easy for me to open up that and say, hey, man, dude, how did you do it? Right. Kind of thing. So there's that. And there's, when I was growing up, my dad, with the family business and whatnot, I really didn't have a traditional father figure, if you will. Throughout the years, he's been, because my parents were divorced when I was 17 years old. But with such a big family, it's kind of, keeps everyone close still. So, but the oldest of the boys, Ken, was my kind of go-to guy. He was the number one for me. I always looked up to him. He was really cool. I remember the times where he had really long hair. He'd have a green Volkswagen Bug surfboard on top. Every morning, 6 a.m.
He was the coolest then, for sure.
Oh, yeah. Huntington Beach, the guys out there by the pier.
I want to be
oh, totally. And a good-looking guy, too, so the women loved him. I always looked up to him. And then it got to a point to where things shift. They got in some business dealings, and he got me kind of a little wrong, but then it shifted, and He's not number one anymore, but it's not like we don't talk. What I used to do is call him. You see, and of course, I would always answer the phone call when he called me. But I would call him, and I'd stop doing that. I used to have that conscious thought of, hey, I wonder what Ken's doing. Call him, right? Just don't do that anymore. And there's other dynamics and details there that not necessarily to get into, but so I guess I'm describing that shift of number one is not number one. And then a stand-up guy, my brother-in-law, who I was talking about the building the sheds with earlier, right?
Yeah.
He's a stand-up guy. He got married into an instant family. My sister had 2 kids already, and then they have one together, so 3 kids total. But he's helped my niece go to UCLA, graduate.
Wow.
Biotech major, and now she has her own business. Working with the likes of clients of the Mayo Clinic, LabCorp, Quest Diagnostics. She's got a decent handful of clients, running her own business and employs 12 people, making decent bank. But my point there is, Ron, my brother-in-law, he's a stand-up guy, and throughout the years, the actions that he's done speak for themselves. Simple things like just taking the family out to dinner or whatever it is, paying for some of the, actually all the graduation celebration, UCLA, Stinking Rose, that's where it was in Los Angeles, the Stinking Rose.
I love the Stinking Rose.
Remember that?
Oh,
yeah.
God. Seriously, 40 clove garlic chicken.
Oh, there you go. Yeah. And the blooming onion.
Yes. That's what.
So that other place had it, Outback.
Now, we were talking a little bit earlier about some of the similar characteristics that you and I have, where you might say something that, with all the best intentions, is he a guy that just whatever he says, whatever comes out of his mouth, he's going to make happen? Like the action, like that? Is that what you're talking about?
Oh, spot on, 100%, 100%. He is an individual that if you're going to make plans and do it. So this is actually semi-recent for me. The whole building the shed thing.
Yeah.
It's so important to get through that and do a project with the way he said it, with one of the boys, meaning my family and my siblings, doing a project from start to finish and actually doing it, is an important thing. Yeah. And that's important to me too. So we make these plans on weekends. We skipped one because of the heavy winds, Santa Ana wind conditions, but
it was crazy.
We made plans. We're doing it, and that's what's cool about it right now. We're going through it. So there's that. But he is absolutely a man about. He says he's going to do it. He's going to do it. Or you make plans to do something with him, he definitely will be game in there.
Yeah.
So I've been easily impressing him lately by just showing up.
I mean, that's, I would say,
by showing up.
I would say our friend Matt here has some of those similar characteristics where, like Matt, you said earlier, your brother showed up and you didn't really care if he was going to be there or not, but it was nice that he came.
What it's all about, we got to be intentional. I'm curious, do you guys all use calendars of some sort, probably electronic now?
Electronic, and usually if it work-wise, yeah.
One of the things that helped me was I started scheduling everything. Like, I even schedule dates with my wife because it's not about how much time. It's when I'm there, I'm 100% there. And it sounds like, your brother-in-law, Todd, Ron, it sounds like him. Like when he does it, it's 100% doing that. And I think that's where the lesson is. If we start scheduling, like I learned from a friend about a month ago, him and his brother had a fallout. And he had called me and I was like, what's going on? He's like, I'm in the hospital. This guy's 60 years old too. He's like, my 63-year-old brother just smashed in the back of a cement truck and I don't think he's going to live. And immediately I thought, do I talk to my siblings consistently? And I made it that I would at least send a text. Fast forward a month, my siblings are sending texts all the time about silly little things. I just got a group text. Hey, your nephew's doing a panda, national-wide panda thing for school. So we all bought panda that day and sent a photo. Like, I think if we just intentionally do what we did as kids, and we can't maybe get them all, but I think if we treated a lot more of the stuff like work, where a lot of us are good at, it's how, I mean, Todd, you met Sylvia. I mean, I am not the easiest, and Dave, you know me, I am not the easiest person in the world. The fact that Sylvia and I are still together is because I intentionally made it happen. You know, she told me a long time ago that, like, hey, you know, if you screw up, I'm gonna go date like a donkey. And I'm like, well, I'm not gonna do that. So now the big joke is, I said, if you ever leave me, I'm going with you. But you know, this is where we're at. So just curious if you guys start scheduling that stuff. Todd, I'm going to ask Dave too, but because he doesn't know I'm going to ask this question, but I wrote this question down because I wanted to ask you both. Since you're the guest, I'll let you go first. Here's my question. What makes you insecure?
Oh, geez, myself. I mean, the skin I'm in.
Great.
You know what's hilarious is I try and just remember the first thought that pops into my head, you know, with some of this self-help stuff that I've and the initial word that came into my head was everything. That's right. The word that came into my head. And I'm like, okay, well, I'm also pretty dramatic though. I mean, I am. So not everything does, but when I have to push, I'm dramatic, but I also like to talk. So see how I just went right over
wait
Todd?
Wait a minute. I think it was pointed to me first there, Dave. So
exactly my point.
Selfish. Todd, you know, he tries to be the eye candy in the group, but I already told him.
There you go. Now, I just wanted to say quickly, I met my first answer, but what reflected was we talked about how to say no, right? Like, no, I can't, or no, simply no, or nope. So when Matt asked me that question, first thing was, no, I'm not going to answer this, but yeah, me in my own skin. So that's my genuine answer. I mean, there's so many things to that, but absolutely. I mean, we're our own worst critic, right? We've heard that before. So, and certainly for me, I'm my own worst critic. So now, if you were to expand upon that a little bit, Matt, and say there's situational things or whatever, but I'll keep it simple and segue to Dave there. My answer is in my own skin.
Since I took some of your time, why don't I ask you a follow-up question? So in your own skin, in what situations? Obviously, when I could see 4 computer screens behind you, I would assume while you're in that zone, I don't think you would feel uncomfortable. I mean, I feel like that would be a place where you have some confidence. Is that correct or no?
Oh, for sure. There's no doubt. You can see me there. I'll give you actually a good case in point there, Dave. Is during a conference for this company I used to work for, I was doing a technical seminar, if you will, basically show and tell, right? Mm-hmm. Well, I set up this entire demo all during the week, set it all up and got it all dialed in and blah, blah, blah. But we had a gathering of people around that showcase, the likes that the company has never seen before. So the salespeople and the marketing people are taking note. And they're all, wow, look at what Todd's doing over there. And so they're getting, names, email addresses, all the things that they want, right? But the observation afterward was, wow, you did a great event, Todd. Have you ever considered sales or marketing? And I said, no, hell no. I wouldn't be the same. I wouldn't be the same because my passion that I was putting forth into my voice was all about my setup I did during the week and totally into it, right? If I had to do that, I don't know, smoke and mirrors and whatever, it just wasn't me. So yes, I feel very comfortable in my technical segment. And that's only 4 screens you can see right now behind me. I actually have 7 total.
Must be very bright in there for sure.
Yeah,
Let
it
me
can
ask you
be.
another
I
question
done
because
some
I
of
know,
them.
Dave, you want to jump in that. You mentioned the setup. Like, what is it about that process that A, makes your passion come out, but also B, gives you the biggest, like, almost like sex, like the biggest release?
But for Dave or for me?
No, for you.
No, not yeah.
Yeah,
Well,
you know,
slow
you're
down
gonna
there,
start
Todd.
talking. He's gonna answer anyway. So
Yeah. So, okay, that's a great follow-up. I mean, to me, it's simple because the confidence comes through in my voice, Matt. It comes through because of the subject matter and what I know. You know, it's second nature to me. So having that confidence in knowing what you know, you can articulate. It just flows, right? So it's the confidence in the subject matter. You know, if somebody's talking about, I don't know, the latest, greatest cigar or red wine or whatever vintage it is, I dabble on that a little bit, but not so much, you know. So I could be at a social engagement and I bow out or have a tendency to not be able to be so boastful, if you will.
Mm.
But then, Matt, you've seen me in social scenarios, even at the patio, right? Of recent, we're doing the telescope thing.
Yeah.
As people kind of gather around and whatnot, I mean, we could talk about just about anything. And you and I had a good old time there. I could sit down and recite, you know, many digits of pi.
it's all about the pie. We'll have to fill you in on that, Dave, in a minute.
For sure.
Let me ask you another follow-up question. How do you learn technology?
I just apply myself into it.
Like, if you were going to tell me,
Meaning,
Matt, this is how I want to teach you how to do this, how would you teach me how to learn one of your skill sets?
Oh, actually, now you're getting into areas of can I be a good teacher, so to speak. And I think I can be. It'd have to be maybe the same thing that I'm doing, possibly a skill set. It would be spending time, of course, obviously, with you, but in front of the technology together, and just, you know, do the normal regiment of teaching somebody. But I don't think I would have anything special up my sleeve. It would have to be something that I'm familiar with, obviously, and something that we'd be both into.
But if I wanted to, like, one of the struggles I'm having right now is DC Acrobat.
PDF Acrobat.
Yeah, I'm having a difficult time with that right now. This is true. I get super frustrated, and I'm like, well, it's not my skill set, but what do I know? And so I take what I know and I break it down small enough so I can understand it. So my question to you is, when you're learning a new thing, how do you do that? Like, what are those steps? Like, if you could give me, like, here's my 5 steps, Matt. When I'm learning something, I do this, 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 and this. Do you have that? Do you even know?
No, I mean, I don't articulate any one way. I don't have the same method for any one thing because I am unique in the sense that a lot of my friends are either 100% software engineers or hardware engineers. I'm kind of a hybrid of both. I do software and hardware. So,
like, you can talk to each other?
Yeah, imagine that.
So you're the go-between guy that, like, you can, if I was in software and Dave was in hardware, you could have us talk to each other and you'd be able to bridge that gap.
Exactly where I'm at right now with a robotics company. We have a hardware team and a software team. And yes, I'm able to kind of bridge the gap from time to time. In fact, this past week, we got through one of our major customers, $12 million project rollout, to where we had a scenario that you would have to bridge that gap between hardware and software to get down this fast path of a solution. And all remotely, you know, being able to talk through certain things, email, of course, but identifying an area saying, hey, guys, what about this, A, B, and C? And then, you know, the attention goes to the right area. But so, I mean, how do I go down a path and learn something though myself? I just jump in and it has to be of interest to me, you know, whether it's programming, like I learned Python to a certain degree, only because it would help me automate tasks in the IT sense, managing hardware. So you're using software to manage hardware, right, to help automate.
Yeah.
But it's just another tool in the toolbox, learning that tool. So I think I heard something recently. It was about if you had a company and you wanted to build an engine, right? Like say you're Ford or whatever, or even let's use Tesla, right? Electric, it doesn't matter. It's just an engine and you're going to build it. Would you have your curriculum for students to learn how to build an engine, say Tools 101, meaning you have to learn what a screwdriver is, right? A screwdriver. And then learn what a wrench is. Learn what pliers are. Here's my point. Screwdrivers, pliers, and wrenches, what does that have to do with an engine? You may need those tools. My whole point is, what is an engine? See, dive into the engine, and then guess what you're going to find out anyway? Oh, I need a screwdriver for this screw. That's how you learn what a screwdriver is, not before. Because you got me on this thread now of, in my opinion, I think learning is a bit skewed in our country. It's a bit messed up in that way. Does that make sense?
So yeah, and then Dave, maybe you can help. It sounds like if you dive into X, then you'll start getting the other pieces of the other tools that you need to get it.
Precisely, exactly right. That's spot on. Again, spend all that time in the first semester to learn what a screwdriver is, to ultimately build an engine. You never get done. Dive in, learn that engine. So the byproducts of
I think you just solved all the world problems. The problem is everyone's trying to get everything perfect instead of just dive right in, and then as you need the tools, you go find them.
Bingo! There you go. So what do we call our new school, Matt and Dave? We're gonna start a new school. What do we call it?
Dive right in.
Like dive in.
.edu.
Dive right in.
Yeah.
There you go.
Yeah. See, we already got the website picked out.
Which I also do, by the way. I do web.
Well, there you go. We're in the right spot.
Hey.
So, Matt, I feel like where you're headed with the dive right in part is these insecurities that we have, because I know how your brain works. Really, why aren't we just diving straight into that when we, it's easier to dive into how an engine works because it's outside of ourselves. But the fact that we have to do work in ourselves, it takes almost like a third perspective where is this like a Zoom raising your hand right here? Or
Question.
Oh, I'm on the wrong side. Sorry, there we go. All lined up now.
Be careful which hand you raise. Good question.
Yeah, especially in Middle Eastern countries.
Yes. Aren't we just an engine?
Yes.
No.
But, well.
I would say no, because I think there's two parts.
I would say the brain is an engine in the body of the vessel, or?
Well, to me, the engine would be something that, consistently is processing and working. But the fact that I can think about what emotional state my engine is in, I think adds a layer of complication that isn't as easy all the time. So in order to know that you are, like we did with Todd's example, and he said, in my own skin. So we asked him to dive a little bit deeper, right? The act of diving deeper, to me, takes the thought that your engine might not be working correctly. So you have to have that thought before you can even begin work, in my perspective. So I've been to two therapists. The guy I went to for a long period of time. The second guy wore white Skechers and khaki pants and asked me like a list off of, a checklist. And I was like, no, your white sneakers are freaking me out. So I'm never coming back here again. Anyways, but the other guy, it took me a minute. I didn't realize that I had some of the issues that I had. That I had pounded them down so deeply that I wasn't even aware of them in the first place. And it took some cracks to come out. And thank God I'm married to a wonderful woman who was like, maybe you should talk to somebody. And so I did. So that kind of helped me on that journey. But I had some outside perspective. And whether it's your wife or your friends or your siblings, I believe you can get some good perspective that you can't always provide yourself. Now, there's amazing people out there who can just see deeply into themselves or start themselves on a path where it's just a thought of something might be off, or that they want to increase their happiness and start on that road. But
Dave, don't they still need the screwdriver
yeah,
and the hammer and
yes,
all the tools?
yes.
But I think most people say, I have a screwdriver. This is a screwdriver. And all they do is they plan, instead of planning, doing, adjusting, and repeat.
I see where you're going with that. That does make sense for sure. I mean, the action, the how instead of the why. We get stuck in it, for sure. Like, how do I fix this? Well, I kind of tried that kind of, and now I'm going to try something else. Or this one sounds better, so I'm not even going to try that in the first place.
But kind of bringing it home, because we're less than 5 minutes and we're out. But if we bring it back to the sibling scenario, when we were kids, we just dove in.
Right.
And then we got to adults, and like when we didn't like something, we'd tell our brother or sister, like, no.
Yeah. Not even that, but no, that's stupid. I don't want to do that.
Exactly. And then we get to this adulthood and we're like, okay, let me figure out how this screwdriver works so I don't want to hurt their feelings. Just dive right back in.
Or a screwdriver is a sibling, and pliers are another sibling, and the wrenches are another sibling, maybe. Or, I mean, that's one mindset, right? Or you can be the school of thought of, this is my screwdriver. There are many like it, but this is mine. You know, the whole rifle thing, right?
Yeah, I was about to say, this is my rifle, this is my gun.
Well, yeah, that's exactly. This is only mine. Many like it, but this is mine, kind of thing. You know what I'm going on about, right?
Yeah.
So there's that too, to where this is, quote, my screwdriver. There are many like it, but this is mine, meaning you maybe you made that or fabricated that tool, and it's your tool, right? Kind of thing. I'm proverbially, in the proverbial sense. But then is that screwdriver a sibling? And as we get older, mature, that are the tools in your shed, if you will, of your life, within your space. I mean, there's a couple of analogies that can be used there, I suppose.
I don't know. I want my tools to be played with, and I want it to be touched by many. And I like
you don't want them, or you want them to be?
Well, that you interpreted what I said. I slipped it in there fast because. But the best part about it is sometimes I'll put this tool away for a season and I'll get a new tool, but I'll never forget about my favorite tools.
Right.
And once in a while I'll bring them out. We can have fun and all that stuff. The best part, Dave and Todd, whatever happens, we just got to start, in my opinion, not feeling so bad if we tell people no. It's fun to practice. Like, I tell my wife sometimes no. I'm like, no, not tonight. I have a headache. And it's the funniest thing in the world. And I may not last long. I mean, JK, but it's fun to, it's fun.
The awkward pause, JK.
Yeah. And I think maybe, we just start saying no a little bit more and saying yes because we want to, not yes because we have to.
Yeah. And
there you go. I like that, Matt. That's really well stated right there.
Yeah.
Not saying yes because you have to. Being inclined to say no because you can.
I don't want to be guilty. I don't want to feel guilty.
Yeah.
I don't. we're adults now. Like, but
Right.
I still act like kids, man. I'm like, I don't, if I don't want to go somewhere, I don't want to go. I just say I don't want to go. But if I want to do it, I'm like, you really think I goofed the whole time about this telescope party? I was telling my friends, let's go to a periscope party. They're like, what? I had a great time because I knew what the purpose was. I really didn't care to look at Uranus too much, but I knew there was going to be some cool.
Hey, easy there.
There was going to be some cool people that I could chat with, and all I was there for was have some fun.
Right.
Hey, Matt, now's the perfect opportunity for me to say this, based on what you just said. I was not even expecting you or anyone else there other than Ken and maybe one or two others. I was so glad that you guys showed up and that I showed up too. So it was great to reconnect with you, dude. That was great to see you.
You too, my man.
Good conversation.
Hey, you know what? I enjoyed the time that I see you. It's all about just having fun and making those memories. And, we've seen each other a few times over the years. And, hey, that's what it's all about, making those memories. And I'm really happy that you were able to come on the podcast. I hope you had a good time. Dave's going to ask you a really important question before you go. So go ahead, Dave.
Well, let me think of one real quick.
All right, cool.
And stop.
And scene.
He's the wise one.
Yeah.
And no, go ahead.
Well, Matt, since you put me on the spot, I'm not thinking quick enough. So I'm gonna ask you to ask Matt to ask you a question. How about that? Matt, ask him an important question because obviously
I thought you said, wait, I thought you said you're going to ask me to ask Matt to ask.
That's right. See, I told you, I like to talk over people.
To keep it on par with what you said, I'm going to go ahead and do that. I'm going to honor your statement there. And Matt, I would like you to ask Dave to ask me about time.
This is the best part. Here's my
question.
Because we never came around.
I have a question for you, Todd. So what can I do as a fellow man to help out other people, to help out other men? Basically, what can we do to help men feel comfortable in their own skin, to be who they actually are and live some better lives?
I would say it's more of this, to be honest with you. I mean, Matt, on a whim, to see him at that telescope party and then to invite me onto this kind of venue is a great start. I'm not going to lie. I mean, honestly, I could sit there, before we got on, fortunately for me, I was busy, so I had to think consciously, oh my God, what am I going to say? What am I going to wear? I'm kidding about that part.
You're looking good, Todd.
All right, thanks. But it's going through that tap dance, right?
Yep.
I don't know these guys. I mean, I kind of know Matt, but so my whole point there is, answer your question, is to do more of this kind of thing. It's that connection. It's allowing somebody to go through their own thought process and say, my God, why am I so fed up with myself in my own skin? I talk to these guys named Matt and Dave and Ken. Matt knows Ken, another friend. But it's more of that. So you're getting rid of that echo inside your head. I guess it diminishes the more this kind of thing occurs. I think, honestly, I think I'm pretty good based on what people tell me when I'm in the thick of it, on the moment, like Matt mentioned earlier. When you show up for something and you're into it, you're on par. You're in it to win it mentality kind of thing. I'm the same way. But why can't I, expound upon that and do more of that without thinking so critically of myself? Yeah. I think that's the key is, so to do more of this kind of thing, I think helps. Everyone's different though, people get it at different levels, of course.
Well, I'm going to wrap it up with this. Dave and Todd, I'll challenge you. And I'll send you a little text because I just challenged one of my clients and friends. So I'll send you both the text of the video. But I challenge you guys in the next 30 days or before the year's out, just reach out to one of someone you care about. whether it's through a text or jumping on hey, let's jump on a quick call or a Zoom. But I know families that were broken apart or kind of distant, and that they started creating like what are those things when a group of people get together in the family reunions?
Mm-hmm.
They're doing them on Zoom. And you can do like wear silly hats and just like get a bunch of them together and have it fun. But it starts with one of us because we are the leaders. And if you put it in the calendar and not give a shit who comes, maybe just one, it's so
great
much
idea.
fun. So, and the cool part about it is if you record it, you then have that memory for a long time. I mean, how many times would we love just to say one more thing or to hear the voice of someone that we love? We create memories on that. So super thankful you guys came today. Appreciate it. Dave, you can stay on the line for 30 seconds. Todd, thank you so much. I hope you come back. We'll get some theme music for you.
3.14-159-265-358-979-323-846-264-338-327. That's where it gets kind of, 950. Anyway, I can go on, but I do it in threes. So that's the whole thing was pi, by the way, Dave.
Dude, he went out to like 38 or 39.
I can go up to 60.
Yeah.
Anyway,
I think that is going to be your theme music now. We're going to play you out with the numbers of pi.
Oh, I love it. We'll definitely record it out. So, all right, Todd.
Great talking to you guys.
Thank you so much. It was great meeting you, Todd.
Same. Likewise.
Later.
Well, that was fun. I think that went well.
I agree.
Yeah.
We had a good time. So I know we went a little bit over, but we kind of kept them in there. So
yeah,
it was fun, man. Did you learn anything?
Yeah, I learned. Yeah, I did. Learned about him. Learned about myself being on here talking to people. So while I was talking to him, I was evaluating my thought process, how much I was focusing on his words, how much I was focusing on my words. Trying to just be better at asking a question, listening to the question, and having a thoughtful response. So, but yeah, I thought it was fun, man.
It was a lot of fun. And the cool thing is, I like to play a lot. I'm telling you, you're a wise guy. You catch on. I see you. I see the smile when you start to, oh, here he goes.
Well, I'm trying to be a good co-host and like not be, try and circle it back, be the half step in between you and him.
It's good. I mean, I think we can all learn from him. Like, I got some stuff out of that. The cool part about it was, making a connection with one of your family members.
Absolutely. I thought that was, when we were getting in there talking about his family, I think was one of the best parts of our entire conversation, because everybody has that. I mean, like I said, I have one brother and one sister, and I have that, so it's something that if you have a sibling, you can relate to. And if you don't have a sibling, you have friends that are your siblings. You know what I mean? Usually when you're an only child, you have like your really good friends from like years and years ago, and you hold on to them because, not because you have to, but because you really respect. Savor is not the right word, but it's kind of like that. But you really
scarcity, you don't have much. Maybe
scarcity
mentality.
For sure. And people you connect with the long-term ones because they've known you since you were a kid, and they are the closest thing that you're going to have to a sibling.
Yeah. No, it's true. No, super excited. But hey, man, he's a possible network connector. He sounds like he knows a lot of large businesses. I encourage you to reach out. Maybe you guys can connect.
He seemed like a cool guy.
Cool dude. One last thing that I wrote down was how he learns is always fascinating. How people, like, he was talking about he can't be in sales, but he has the sales personality.
Mm-hmm.
And so I was trying to get him to tell me what and it's hard because I don't know what anyone's going to say on this stuff, but it's very interesting that he kind of said, what did I write? Like he kind of dives into things. So I was trying to have him give me the steps, and I'm encouraging on the follow-up that, you know, maybe we'll do in 6 months or something with him.
Yeah.
What he's taken away from it.
Yeah. Yeah.
So,
The how do you like go deep question? It's a tough one to think of on the spot, but like, how do you teach? Like, what is your process of teaching somebody something? I don't know. I just do, but the more questions you ask, the more close you get, and hopefully a couple of triggers go off while you're going in deeper.
yeah. So we just were running out of time. That was a real issue. So
for sure. No, I think it was great, dude. I really love the, you know, obviously we didn't have a pre-done script of questions we want to ask, but it was fun to just take the direction where we wanted to take it, because everybody has interesting stuff in their lives. You know,
the cool part about it is that maybe like for you, because, you know, I want to just, I don't want to say I wing it, but I have questions I would ask anyway. So maybe if you come up with a series of your own questions, like I just have a piece of paper and I started writing stuff down. I know you can't see anything, but
well,
it's literally, yeah, it's terrible. But it literally was like, but I did write down Todd's brother owns a print shop. Todd's brother-in-law, Ron, helped his stepdaughter open a business. So like, I'm slutty. I'm always thinking about business anyway. But at the same time, I got some really good, like he triggered a question on me, like, what makes you confident? And I also wrote down what makes you insecure. Like, I don't even know where that came from. But he said something and it triggered it. So
really,
maybe for you, if you write down some like just generic questions, like you can even Google, what do I ask somebody?
Right.
And then just have them there.
Idea.
And it may trigger, you'll hear something and then you'll be like, and then star it and be like, hey, let me ask you this question. That's all I knew.
Right.
And I knew me putting you on the spot was going to be so funny because you're like, you analyzed 50 other things. It was the greatest thing in the world.
Well, it took me a second, but then I realized we're ending the show. Like, how else better to end a show with what more can we do to make sure we're doing good by the people, you know, by other men. So
I think that's one of your questions then. So
I think that's a great way. I think I'm amazing. So there you go. So, but I think it's a good way to end. Go ahead.
I know you're amazing.
Oh, thank you.
And check out my text message. I sent you a squirrel.
I will look at that for sure.
All right, buddy. Go hang out with your family. We'll talk later.
Will do. You take care.
All right, buddy. Bye.